Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this October 20, 2011 school board meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. With that, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Christian,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and welcome. We'll continue the meeting by reading our mission statement. The Newmarket School District is committed to the highest standards of quality education by creating a safe and successful learning community that embraces diversity in response to the social, emotional, intellectual, and physical needs of every child. We are dedicated to fostering links to the broader community to ensure that students develop lifelong skills, enabling them to be contributing and productive members of society. Welcome again, everyone. On our agenda this evening, we have recognition for Kim Caswell, one of our high school English teachers, but she is not available here this evening, unfortunately. So we'll have to recognize her at another time. But since we're all curious
as to what you did?
As to what she did, Pat, do you want to speak briefly to that?
Certainly.
We can roast her a little bit more when she's present.
That's
but,
right. Well, for now, we'll go easy. Pam Caswell is an English teacher at the senior high school. She served on a national panel whose job was to set standards for writing in grade 12. Nominated by Chris Andriski, the principal at the senior high, she thanked him for the experience by writing. I would like to thank you for nominating me to serve on the panel for setting national standards for writing for grade 12. My 2 days were challenging, intense, and very enlightening. I was so excited to meet the president of the National Council of Teachers of English, as she is also the editor of my AP English text and several other professional books I've used in my lesson planning. I also had the opportunity to collaborate with colleagues from other high schools and the college level. I was intrigued to learn what goes on behind the scenes when creating and assessing tests, especially the work of statisticians and psychologists. We corrected over 100 essays each day. Overall, a very valuable experience for me. Very nice.
Terrific. Nice. So we look forward to giving her an opportunity to
come back and join us.
Come back and have us give a chance to say thank you and congratulations. But not tonight this time. So we'll move on. This is the opportunity for visitors to make comments if they chose to do so. That's the time now. So seeing no one diving for the microphone, we'll move to minutes from our last meeting on October the 6th. Anyone care to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of October 6th.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here.
And you are noted as absent on the minutes too?
Yep.
So, all those opposed? Okay, thank you. And we did have a non-public session also, as I recall. Is there a motion regarding that?
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the non-public meeting on October 6th.
Second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And one noted abstention. Okay. To committee reports, Mr. Fillion, what's new at school?
Both soccer teams have made the playoffs. The girls will be hosting a playoff game at home, I think on Tuesday. The boys are 15 seeds, so I'm not sure where they'll be going to. Football team wins this weekend. They will be in the playoffs for the first time in their football history. Cross country team has a state meet 2 Saturdays from now. And then the following meet is the Meet of Champions, so that's if anyone qualifies for that. And then Sean Fleming, he placed 6th in the Division 4 individuals for golf. And then tomorrow there's a teacher's workshop, so students have half a day. Next week is Red Ribbon Week, so they try to promote the kids to do healthy choices, and there'll be different activities during advisory to help work that out, I guess. And November 3rd is the picture retake day. That is all.
All right. As I recall hearing, the girls were ranked like 5th
Yeah.
soccer, and that was before
I
the
think they
muddy
went in-
win yesterday.
They went in, I think Haley said on Monday they were 5th place, but they were going to be bumping up in front of Wilton if they won yesterday.
So
Yeah.
that's
Considering
pretty
they
high
didn't
seed.
make the playoffs last year, I mean, they really turned it around.
mhm.
So
Good for them.
it's been fun.
All right. Any questions for Christian? All right. Dr. Hayes, you look awfully different this evening. This
Oh,
is
well.
Pat Valentine is here. She's
I'll
our
put my
curriculum
glasses on.
coordinator, and filling in both he and our finance director are out of town this week. So Joan and Jim are missed. But Pat, do you have a superintendent's report for us?
I do. I also have good news from the elementary school.
Oh, super.
Let me first give the good news from the elementary school. Kneecap testing actually finished yesterday, finishing up with grade 3. We're currently hopefully going to finish makeups by tomorrow afternoon. I think we've used every nook and cranny in that elementary school for testing this week. Parents are reminded that tomorrow is an early release day in the district. Teacher workshops will be held in the afternoon. Also, similar to the senior high, junior senior high, Red Ribbon Week will be celebrated October 24th to the 28th. Students will be engaging in special activities, in-class lessons to help them make themselves aware of safe choices with regard to drugs and alcohol. We'll also have our annual safety presentations from the fire and police departments. Kindergarten will be going to Emery Farm on October 26th. The first grade field trip to Cider Hill was rescheduled to October 27th due to large amounts of rain on the original date. On the 25th of October, the second graders will be going to the Capitol Center for the Arts to see the play Sylvester and the Magic Pebble, and our 5th graders will be going to the Currier Museum of Art on October 28th. Our annual kindergarten costume parade will be held on Friday, October 28th. Very important school picture retake day is Thursday, November 3rd. One of the activities this year that we have at the elementary school, funded by the PTA Leaps and Bounds program, is the Lego Club. Lego Club for first and second graders will begin on this upcoming Monday, the 24th. As with many of our after-school activities, we had a lot of interest in this new club. We were even intrigued here when the Legos came this morning in the mail. Because of that, names were chosen in a lottery for participants. We're hoping to begin Lego Club for 3rd to 5th graders soon, and Drama Club is due to begin after our jump rope season ends. The Leaps and Bounds Committee is already busy thinking of new activities to promote for next year's school year. 426 students from the elementary school have participated in fall extracurricular activities, not including Lego Club. Our Newmarket Elementary School PTA next meets on November 8th at 6:30 p.m. The annual spaghetti supper is scheduled for Thursday, November 3rd in the school cafeteria. This is an annual event, and it raises money to help support physical education field trips for the elementary school. Every class gets a particular theme. They might go hiking, they might go bowling, they might go swimming, but everybody gets to go, and it's outside of the regular physical education class. And you have on your calendars open houses next week, and that is not like the curriculum night. We invite parents, children, grandparents to come and see what's going on in the elementary school. So that's what's going on at the elementary school.
Any questions regarding all of those programs?
I just had a question. What's the focus of the teacher workshops on Friday?
At the elementary school,
Yeah.
they're doing restructuring, which is part of their CINE, DINI categories. And we're training the paraprofessionals in Key 3 literacy. And at the junior senior high, they're doing NEASC. This is the final prep in terms of collecting artifacts, going over the cover sheets that go with the artifacts, because very shortly the visiting team will be here. In fact, the faculty met with the chair of the visiting committee this week at a faculty meeting. So that's what they're doing. Paraprofessionals will participate at the junior senior high in part of the NEASC work tomorrow, and then they're getting a training from another person who's come in to speak to them for the other part of the afternoon.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
As far as the superintendent's report, you have in your notes that you're going to be presented with a request by one of our professional staff members to allow a sabbatical. We have Jean Parsons here this evening, the Director of Student Services here, and she'll highlight anything you need to have in terms of that request, because it does, in our minds, provide a potential savings to the district if we do approve the request. Given the nature of the sabbatical request and the benefit to the district, the superintendent is in approval of the request. We have some correspondence about your upcoming NEASC visit here in the district, and I can answer any questions later on if you have that. And we have 6 policies being read tonight for a second reading. And that's what I have.
Okay. Questions regarding that piece? Anyone? Okay, do you have a facilities?
I do.
No? All right.
Oh, let's see,
Keep it
that's
coming.
keep it coming. We're getting through here. What time? No. The Facilities Committee met on Wednesday, October 12th, and covered the following. The junior senior high school project. Distributed were updated floor plans for the new facility. Updates were really minor from the last time we reviewed them, so I really didn't review the floor plans. I distributed and reviewed the educational specs document. The report identifies 4 reasons for needing a new facility: enrollment growth, fire and life safety issues, the condition of the facility, and the inadequacy of the building to support the educational program. The difference between the population projection of 577 students and the design capacity of 674 students was explained. Program and space needs are defined through charts that indicate the spaces and square footage and lists of considerations and requirements for aspects of each space. There is a comprehensive list of general design considerations and green school expectations. The site considerations included commentary about demolition and reuse of the current facility, which would include retaining the cross gymnasium and renovating the current cafeteria and kitchen area into SAU offices. Dr. Hayes asked that committee members continue to look at the drawings in the ed specs document to see if they have any more suggestions for improvement. He plans to ask the committee to approve the ed specs and facility design at the next meeting on October 26th, so that the school board can consider the proposal and the architects can do the remaining engineering analysis, which will lead to cost estimates. The next meeting is October 26th. It's a Wednesday. It'll be at 5:30 p.m. in the Town Hall Auditorium, which is downstairs. On Thursday, October 13th, the superintendent met with the principal and his team of school leaders in a PAC advisory council meeting to provide them with the drawings and ed specs. He walked them through the site plan and the design of the 3 floors. The ed specs document was reviewed. There was great discussion. Department leaders were asked to review over the next week and a half the aspects in these materials that relate to their specific areas and to provide any input to Mr. Andruski. And under properties, the Ransom Environmental Consultants have notified Dr. Hayes that they have completed their Phase 1 analysis and will be sending along a report soon. And that's what we have for facilities.
All right. Questions regarding facilities? Okay. Then let's move to program. We have an annual report for special education. leave this evening. Good
Yes.
evening, Jean.
I just have a few charts to pass around. Would you mind passing that around? Thanks.
Those who don't know, this is Jean Carson. She's our special ed director. Director of Student Services.
Yes, but also special ed. That's a large part of my job. Good evening, everybody. I have to apologize for the limited number of charts and data I'm handing you. My wonderful secretary, Sherry Pahopek, had a personal day today, and with my working always on the line as far as time going and not having a lot of leeway, I forgot she wasn't going to be here today. And I discovered how very limited I actually am in using some of the software. So I just did a summary sheet for you. I can provide more data if you're interested in it when Sherry's back tomorrow. So, the information I just passed you are two charts. One's from this year and one's from last year. The top one is from this year. And you'll notice we have the same number of special education students at this time this year as we did have last year. We have a total of 187. I gave you the breakdown of the different kinds of disabilities at the different levels. You'll notice there's a little shift in the chart as to where the numbers are falling, but it's the same total number. This year, we're continuing to drop in the percentage of our total population. We're down to 17.5% of the total population. Last year, we were 17.8. That's a factor of the fact that we have a few more children compared to last fall. But it's basically holding steady. The main differences from last year to this year is more out-of-district placements. I had some students move in. One who moved in at the end of the summer, who will actually be graduating in January, so it's only really a half a year of an out-of-district placement for us. And then we have 2 court placements, we have 2 DCYF placements, and the rest are our own. So we have a limited number that we've done ourselves, but with the 2 court placements and the new move-in, those 3 were unanticipated and unexpected, unanticipated, whatever. So they are there on that list. The way that list goes, we have it's written with parentheses around the out-of-district, the what do you call it? The charter school children, and then there's a different demarcation for the children who are DCYF placed. Just to give you the numbers there. So we're staying pretty steady in our numbers, which is a great thing, I guess. I would love to see it go down, but this year we're very involved in focus monitoring at the school. In particular, we're focusing on the junior, senior high school. Focus monitoring is, as the director of special ed for the state told me, we were being chosen. We were fortunate. It is another initiative that takes a lot of energy from staff, but it's very rewarding. We were chosen because we have a significant gap between achievement using the NECAP testing on our typically developing students versus our students with disabilities. And because our gap is large, we were chosen to do this study to look to see if we could find ways to shorten that gap by bringing children with disabilities up and having them perform at a higher level on the NECAP test. It's all based on the NECAP state testing each year. We're focusing at the junior senior high as opposed to the elementary because the elementary is in restructuring. They've got that big initiative going on, so we thought it made sense to focus our efforts on the junior senior high school. What we do is we look very closely at data from the NECAP testing. We go right down to the individual children, we look at individual classrooms, and we really try to see patterns, areas where we can make changes, and what we need to do to make changes. We do a lot of looking at research, looking at studies on how different techniques and different approaches have affected different groups of students as we try to help them to improve. And it is a year-long operation. We have a grant that we get. We get a $10,000 grant from the state to do this work, and that helps us pay for substitutes when we have to have teachers out of the classroom. And we're also told it's very important to feed the teams, so we always feed them. We meet a couple times a month, and that money is all covered in the grant. So far, we're getting a good reception. We have one parent involved in our group. We would love to have more parents if anyone is interested in joining us. It's not too late. We have special ed, regular ed teachers, we have all kinds of administrators and a nice variety of different folks involved, all trying to bring our own information to the table for the betterment of all our students. Next year, at the end of this year, we'll have a plan that we create as a result of this study, which then the following year we'll put into place. And then at the end of the following year, we do a measurement to look to see if that plan actually did what we predicted it would do to help bring up those scores. So it's a full 2-year process. At the preschool level, we continue to be very full. We have a small, substandard sized classroom for preschool, which limits what we can do for our students. We have, right now, we're still at the status of integrated preschool, which by definition is a preschool that where we're able to have 50% students with disabilities and 50% typically developing students in the class to keep it, that's called fully integrated. But we're right on the cusp of going over into having less than 50-50 split, having more students with disabilities. We have a lot transitioning in from early intervention, early supports and services. These are the 0 to 3 children who live in our community. And we get some notice that they're coming, so right now we're holding the line at the 50-50, but we may eventually have to go to a higher percentage of students with disabilities, which would change us from what we call an integrated preschool into a category of self-contained special education preschool. We're trying to avoid that, but our space doesn't allow us to have another classroom, and right now we have 2 teachers in the 1 room. We're doing the very best we can with that, but it is challenging.
Does that affect funding, or what's the?
It
It's
just
a name change, but
it's a name change. It affects what we have to do as far as the way we have to report on it at the state level. It doesn't change anything except the category the school is in, and we have to inform parents that it's now not. It would become not a fully integrated program, but it would be now in a self-contained program. Even if we had some children who are not disabled in it, if it's less than 50-50, it changes titles. So mostly it's a formality, it's a different balance of students, and we have to let parents know that that's happening. Those are the main things. It really doesn't affect programming all that much. But it is something we like to keep it at the integrated stage. That's a nice thing to be able to brag about. We know that statistics and research does say that children do well when there are a good number of typically developing students in the classroom as a model. So we try very hard to keep it that way. We're doing some creative scheduling. We may have to look at not having sessions come in 4 days a week, maybe having some sessions come 2, some sessions come 4, and mix that up, which is what a lot of districts do. We're not there yet, but all those things are on the table to try to make sure that we provide enough services for the students in our town. We have a lot of little ones coming in, which is great that we're getting them early, but it's a lot. So we've been watching this very closely. We have 2 fantastic preschool teachers, among the best I've ever worked with, and I myself was a therapist in preschool for about 20 years, so I feel like I really know that programming, and they are really fantastic. We're working with some of the children in the program are very disabled, and but yet are making nice progress, fitting in well, and we're really pleased that we can meet their needs too in this inclusive environment. So things are going well, but as I said, we're right on the line. Hopefully, with more space, we may be able to do a little more, but we're in that tiny room, as you know, so it's a challenge.
In the meantime, I mean, is there anything maybe at the recreation department in their building? I mean, is there any?
We could look at that, and we probably will look at that. We would have to get the space approved by the state for having a classroom in there, and I don't know if they would approve it or not, but we could certainly go through that route. We'll be looking at creative options. I mean, some districts would look to put a room in the high school or the junior high, but of course we're so tight there that that's not a possibility. So, but we will look at that, definitely, to try to do what we can do. It makes it difficult because the children do participate in some other activities. They go to the library, you know, they are in with the phys ed groups and so on, so that it presents a busing situation, which cuts down on your time. So it's far from desirable, but we will look at every possibility to try to keep it as integrated as we can. So we're holding the line. I just wanted to let you know that we're very close to not being able to do that. At the elementary school, we're continuing with the response to intervention, or RTI model. We continue, I'm really proud about the kind of kids that, the kind of children with disabilities, the significant level of disabilities that we're able to successfully educate in the regular ed environment. It's a testimony to the kinds of staff we have and the quality of services they provide. Many school districts outplace they would outplace some of the children that we're able to serve in the district and serve effectively. As I said, the elementary school is undergoing restructuring, so they're also busy working at a major full-year initiative there. And that's because they've been a school in need of improvement for, is that 4 years, Pat?
Year 5.
Year 5. And this is all based on the kneecap test, or one test shot. I have been reading quite a bit recently about upcoming reauthorization of the IDEA and changes in No Child Left Behind that look to be perhaps more helpful. I know that the federal government is looking at using a growth model to measure student progress. Right now what they do is they look at, as you know, they look at each grade and they compare it to the next grade. So this year's third graders are compared to next year's third graders, and somehow each class needs to be doing better than the class before it. We're not actually tracking, so it says we're measuring progress, but we're really not measuring student progress. We're measuring who comes in each year, which is a very interesting way of making the conclusions that they make from that assessment. But the next move is going to be to use that assessment using a growth model, which means they'll track individual students. So the growth model would be, you know, Mary Susan from grade 3 to Mary Susan in grade 4 to Mary Susan in grade 5, which has meaning and value. And then they can say we are or aren't making progress. So that's coming down the pikes. From what I understand, the annual adequate yearly progress designation is going to go away, which is very interesting. That's the things I've been hearing, what I've been reading about. I've also been reading that they will be not measuring some of the lowest students who are significantly intellectually disabled, that their scores will be looked at in a different category from the students who are accessing the general curriculum fully, and without substantial modifications. There'll be some, and when we're judged, that group will be judged on their progress, but that group will not be judged with the whole school district, because right now, currently, with the way the law reads now, by 2014, 100% of our students have to be at the proficient level in math, reading, science, and everything else. And you know that the bell curve doesn't let us do that. It's not realistic, but that's what the current law says, and that's what is trying to be revised. So I think there's some good positives coming. If we're going to take that test, it certainly makes sense to get some good bang for our buck and our time, and I think that the changes are going to make it much better, more valuable. So that's coming. So things continue to go well at the elementary school. The junior senior high, we've had a little influx in children on the autism spectrum, and that's because we had quite a group move up from the elementary school. And we have a teacher there. Actually, we hired her last year to work with one student, and this year she's working with that whole group, kind of copying the model that we have at the elementary school with one of our teachers of autism. We have now one at the junior high too, and that program is going extremely well. She's working with, all the children have one-on-one paraprofessionals, and they are working in the regular classrooms and pull-out services when necessary. A lot of interaction with this particular teacher. We're delighted. The referrals to the office are down at the junior senior high school. We're with students with disabilities, they're down. That's a positive sign, and we really are very happy with the integration at the 6th grade level, what's going on. We're getting a lot of support, and this particular teacher is, her name is Tracy Bascom, I'll sing her praises, is fantastic. She was a real find last year. I felt like she fell out of the clouds. And she continues to impress me, and it's going very, very well. So that's a nice plus. It allows us, again, to keep students with more significant disabilities in the mainstream. We have done a lot of training this year, again, with the remains of my ARA funds. I sent more folks down to get additional advanced training in social thinking, which is a program put on by Michelle Garcia Winner, who is a speech and language pathologist who has made this her specialty, and she has tremendous research to support it. We're doing a lot of social thinking groups to help students who are on the spectrum, the autistic spectrum, and also students who just don't do very well socially. This particular program is, we do a lot of social thinking groups now, and we also believe this is helping with the decrease in referrals to the office as well, because we're literally teaching students how to be social and how to interact with their peers, giving them a unified vocabulary that teachers and students can use, and it's meaningful to the students and works with all kids.
Is this
And
across this high school or the whole school?
It's the whole school district.
Okay, great.
Yep, I have every single speech pathologist, all of the guidance counselors and psychologists are all highly trained in this. They've all had at least six full days of training in this particular curriculum, and they've been sharing their information with teachers and staff, and it's going very well. I'm so happy about this. This has been one of my babies, and I'm really thrilled. It's making a difference. It's the one thing. We have so many children who are on the autism spectrum who are academically okay, but socially they find tremendous barriers in not being able to understand the social implications, and it often puts them at a risk for teasing and bullying and all that kind of thing. And with this approach to learning, we're seeing that decreasing, and we're seeing them able to negotiate the social world better. It's a very wonderful program. I'm really excited about it. We continue to have the team structure at the junior high, where we have a special ed teacher at each level, and that continues to work very well for us. We have some double alt LA programs where some students who are at the lowest levels of reading get double periods of language arts instruction, which is we use data to determine what students need to be working on, and we give them extra input with that, and that seems to be doing a good job as well. At the high school, last year we brought in Helen Hoffman and Ann Kane, our rehabilitation counselor, who are working with the transitioning students, the 18 to 21 group, and into the high school years. We started working with UNH. I think I told you about this last year. Well, you'll see in your little packet I made for you, the last page, we are now part of an official UNH course, starts this spring. It's a 2-credit course, and our students are going to benefit from this 2-credit course. This is really big, and Ann Kane is wonderful. She was such a find, and between her and Helen, they are really doing an awesome job. This course is called Transition to Work, Mentoring Adolescents with Disability. It's Education 556, and what it is it grew out of the program that Ann Kane started with UNH. In particular, Georgia Kearns in the special education department, where they are working with students, introducing them to the world of work, helping them to work on various mentoring activities on campus. Some students work on social skills mentoring, some of them work on particular work areas, work behaviors, work attitudes, all of that. And it also we're doing it on a campus where other students of the same age are going about their daily activities. And what's happening now is students from UNH who have been mentoring our students just because they're out of the goodness of their heart will now get credit for their work. And UNH is, Oyster River is also involved in this, but our students first pick. So I'm really excited about it. I think Ann and Helen, Ann in particular, get a tremendous amount of credit for that. So that's going on at the high school. Other things that we've done, we spent some of the last of our ARA money to change our individual education plan software that we use. We're using a different, still using KC, which we love, but we've modified the software. They developed a new modification of their software that's much more intuitive, that allows us to go right through it without having to jump around in the program and do a lot of, changing screens. We just go from left to right across a kind of a desktop, and it is much more efficient. and getting good results. It's taking less time to write IEPs, and we changed it also because our goal pages were not legally compliant with the requirements, the way they were set up, and now they are. So that's a big thing that I'm pleased about. The ARA funds are gone, over. It was fun while it lasted. We got to do a lot of great stuff, but it's done. IDEA money, my entitlement grant that every school district gets every year was decreased a bit this year. Not a lot. It was only about $4,000 or $5,000. But I have all staff positions in it now. In the past, I've had a little extra money in there that I could use for staff training, for professional development. This year, except for $1,400, that entire grant is in staff salaries and benefits. So next year, if they cut it again and people get raises, I'm going to be looking at how I'm going to fund. But I think that came out in budget talks. But that is a trend for the IDEA grant to go down. So it's amazing. Every year, costs go up and funds go down, and that's continuing. I think that's, in general, most of which I wanted to say. I continue to be really happy to be here. I'm very proud of what we do, and I feel very blessed to work in this community. As I've told people in the school, I'm here until I retire or you throw me out. I love this place, and I think we're doing a great job. I'm very proud of it. So, any questions?
I've got a couple. I bet
Meg
Meg
does.
might have one or two, given her background. All right. Maybe, I'm not sure who to direct a question to, but I've heard a couple times the restructuring word at the elementary school, if that could be described a little bit, not.
Sure. I'll do it a little bit, and then I'm going to turn it over to Pat, because Pat really is the expert. Restructuring is something that's required when you've been a number of years as a SINI, a school in need of improvement, SINI. When this is part of No Child Left Behind, you have choices of what you can do, and restructuring is the least offensive of the choices that are offered to us. We offered things like fire everybody in the building. It has some really wild choices.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty draconian. That's going to be changed in the new law. But the restructuring is a good process to go through. It's through a very structured, they actually use a piece of software with 82 different categories, and they go through the year investigating these different areas, focusing particularly on instruction, teacher instruction, quality of instruction, instruction methodology, are you reaching all the children, what do you need to change, that kind of thing. Focus monitoring, on the other hand, looks a little more at student outcomes, and the two actually would mesh together pretty well. We tried to mesh them together this year because to me they just made sense to do them together as one big study throughout the district, but we weren't allowed to. The state didn't let us do it, so we have to do two separate things. But it's a very proscribed methodology, whereas focus monitoring is much more individualized to the district, to the school. We get to look at things we feel we need to look at, and our groups are led by SERESC, the Southeastern Educational something Services Center. I used to know their acronym. I used to work for them many moons ago. But anyway, SERESC has the contract with the state, and we have two facilitators, Bob Andrews and Jen Dolliff, that we're working with for focus monitoring, and they are working in restructuring. They also have support from the state in going through that process, but we're guided by the individuals that are our consultants, and we're guided based on the data from our school system as to where we need to research and where we need to go, whereas the restructuring is much more of a formatted system. They have to go through these particular 82 steps, and they have to be done in a certain way, in a certain manner. It's a little more of to me, it's a little more of a standardized package deal, but I don't know what Pat would say about that.
I think the best way I could describe it is it's a NIAS process for an elementary school. There are 82 standards that teachers will meet in small groups throughout the year. We've already done it several times with leaders chosen from the school in which you do the restructuring. And perhaps we can have Mr. Thompson come at some point and really speak to the specifics of the program. But the best way I could describe it is the elementary school kind of looks at itself. It talks about its curriculum, its instructional practices, the administration, any kind of additional student services that we provide. And it, prioritizes where we think we fall, do we need improvement. And then there are guidelines for writing up that analysis and that report that the state has provided us with in terms of making the final report. We do have a consultant from the state that comes down and speaks to us periodically, but we also, this is our first attempt, everything is on their website in terms of, they have a blog for feedback. So we write our report and we submit it, and she brings her analysis back on the web, so we're kind of, it's a really, really good process for us all. It's just really time-consuming, and we, it's the first time we've done anything like this. You might do it individually, or you might do a specific group, but this is school-wide that we're asking for feedback. And then what they'll do is, after they get all the feedback, there are 82 standards we have to go through. And that's what they're working on tomorrow at the elementary school in the afternoon. Once we get all the feedback, it goes into a report, and then we submit it with a plan as to how we think we can make some changes. Because up until now, some of the changes, Jean's right, are pretty drastic. Get rid of the administration,
Fire all the teachers.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, and I suppose there are school districts that do it, but my guess is, from the feedback I get when I'm at the state, is everyone chooses the same restructuring program that we all chose, because it's long and arduous, you're right, thank you, Kelly, but the choices were, the alternatives were, okay, we'll go with this one. Plus, it's nice to be able to sit down with teachers and get that feedback and that reflection upon their practices. I think it makes them look at all of our practices. So, but we can certainly invite Mr. Thompson to come back and give you some real specifics as to how, the progress is going here. Because by now, we've really, I think we're up to standard 36. We gotta
So it's a process of
Yeah.
identifying through self-reflection
Right.
and looking at these different points where your soft spots are, and then developing a plan to address the
Fix
most
those
important
soft
ones.
spots,
and-
yes. And it's funny, because some groups look at things and make one priority, and then we introduce the same standard in another group, and they saw it as a different priority. So we'll work on that. We'll get everybody.
But it's yet something else that we ask our teachers to spend their time on, that
We're using early release time.
They don't
before
already
and
have
after
time.
school. I gave up an hour of curriculum meeting time so they could do it. It's,
Pat,
yes.
is there anything in the elementary school, any type of a program that you make changes on that are constant? In other words, you always expect those to be high in scores. Is there anything,
In terms of programming.
some sort of situation like in science or math or whatever, some of the changes that we have made in the past that are still strong and constant?
Well, I think we look at all of our curriculum that's there, or all of the work that we do, and it's harder. Our data at the primary level, we don't have as many points of data to make those improvements. But because, through No Child Left Behind, we do have various points of data to look at. We look at how can we tweak science more. How, they're always coming up with the inquiry model process. We're starting to look at Common Core standards. How is that going to affect what we do? It's a more in-depth format of teaching, so the teaching will change. Change is ongoing in everything we do.
So there's really no specific thing that we could put our hands on and say we're pretty solid here?
I think we're solid in almost, in most areas we do, but there's always an area we can tweak. There's always, a student group that doesn't do as well as we might have hoped. I don't specifically look at a program every year in terms of what it did or didn't do, but we always look at, especially with the elementary school, they're teaching everything we have, language arts, math, and sometimes the language arts and math outweighs, unfortunately, looking at science and social studies sometimes, because we have we have criteria to meet for AYP.
Yeah, for example, in the everyday math, 'cause
Mhm.
we've had this program, what, 5 years now, 6
7.
years? 7 years? What's your opinion of the everyday math? Is that something that we think we should be changing, or?
Everyday Math is a rigorous program. We've worked really hard with an outside consultant, and I'm going to include a opportunity for you to come see him on Tuesday evening. And the consultant is in an ongoing process with us. He comes next Tuesday and Wednesday to look at what, before we were teaching, day to day, the guidelines, which were, this research-based program is connected to the state grade level expectations. By doing that, we were just, starting, every second grader started at the beginning of the curriculum. Well, we know that not every second grader or every third grader comes in on day one ready to do the second grade curriculum. So now we're looking at what does a second grader really need to know to be successful. And then if they can't do that, then we start looking at, well, how can we help them along in that process? So that's what we've spent the last year coordinating, what they really need to know based on the GLEs and based on what we do in everyday math. And then if there is something we're missing, for example, we were missing metrics in a certain area, and the state asks us to teach that, then we have to put that in. I think everyday math is a research-based program that works well in other schools. It works well here. It's, no program can stand by itself. There are no programs out there. It's dependent upon, training of teachers, interventions that we can help those students who struggle. And sometimes the struggle in math isn't just about math concepts, it's about a reading issue as well. So I think we're doing a good job. Can we do better? We can always do better.
So all teachers are required to use that math curriculum?
All of my classroom teachers are
Classroom
required to.
teachers.
We have a backup program for some students, but my classroom teachers are using everyday math.
Okay.
Any other questions? Sure.
Oh.
To be a city, you have to not make it like 3 years in a row.
Correct.
For your categories.
It,
Did you get categories specifically, like reading?
which are we in Cine 4? Is that what your question?
Which didn't you make it with?
We didn't make it in reading initially, and we've not made it in math. We're a district improvement
Oh, your district.
for math, just for math,
And then,
for reading.
Which years?
Pardon me?
Which years, please?
Well, we have 3 different schools, so you're going to get 3 different settings. It's,
Yeah.
we're a Dinny for math, year 2. We didn't get to year 3 because we made AYP in a group. We are Cine, we did this the other night.
We did.
Cine year, at the high school, it's Cine, it's not a Cine in reading. We're all set. Junior high, Cine year 1 for reading. Cine year 2 in math. The elementary school, Cine year, I think it's 4 to get to restructuring.
Mhm.
I think it's,
I think it's 4.
4 or 5. I think we're year 5 to be restructuring. Year 4 was, so we're year 5 for reading. Year 3 in math.
Mhm.
Yes, year 3 in math. We had a grace period in math.
And it's largely we found ourselves in these areas because of subgroups.
Subgroups, yeah.
Right, it's
Those
not,
gaps.
It's not
The whole
every.
school, no.
Yeah.
No, when you
It's
look
not a
at the whole
pervasive thing. So
school,
it's, when you start quoting those statistics that way, it's like, it sounds like none of our program is any good. But
I didn't mean it to sound like that.
No,
well,
no.
that's
But
the
that's
message
the
that could be
perception.
interpreted.
That's the
And I
perception
just
that is
want-
out there.
Right, but
Um,
it's
no.
certain subgroups haven't made it over certain year periods.
I think
then by
that's-
the state definitions or the federal definitions, they.
Of making AYP.
The state has a cell size of 11 students, so if you have 11 children in any one group, like 11 children who are of Hispanic origin or descendants, we can have East Indian, there's a whole any different classification due to race, ESOL, the children who are homeless population, they look at those separately? No, they don't look at those separately. But they look at children with disabilities separately, and they look at it by grade, and they look at it by group. And if you have only 11 students in a group, if one of them doesn't make it, your whole group fails, and so does your whole school. So it really is not what it says. That's why I'm so happy when I read that the federal government is going to change the way they make those measurements, because what they're claiming right now is very misleading to the public, very misleading. It says something that's just not even something that we would normally say. If you have only a very small number of students not making the grade they need to make, you would never say it's the whole school failing, but yet that's what we have to call it. It's just the way the law is.
And the fact that the school that makes it is rare now these days. Because
Very rare.
With every year, it's more and more
They
difficult
up the ante.
Right.
Yeah. What is it up
So-
to this year, Pat?
They've added another 7 points for this year in math and reading.
Gene,
They make it hard.
with the students, the list that you gave us, which is 187 students that you have, which is about, I figured about 19% of the total school population. Do you have records to show, going back 5-6 years,
I do.
exactly how these students have been going with No Child Left Behind?
I do.
I know where the situation is and what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Because something like this is going to bump some of that stuff where you're not going to meet it.
Right.
Have you got individual records on all this material?
We do, and I would have been able to produce that if I had my fantastic secretary with me. It made me realize how many years I've had fantastic secretaries, because when I realized I had to do it today, I spent a good chunk of the day trying to do it, and I couldn't put the graphs together,
Can we
so.
get a copy of something like that to take
Yes.
a look at it?
Yes.
I think that's a good idea.
Did you have?
Pat can help me with that, right?
I'm not trying to be nosy.
Yeah, we can go on performance pathways.
Yeah.
But we sit here and vote, so we should know.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you have questions?
All right. Go.
We'll get that to you.
I'm done.
So,
Thank you.
just so I understand this chart.
Oh,
Okay.
So for fall 2011, we actually have between Port Place charter schools and placements that we have proposed 16 kids out of district. If I'm, so as if
16? No.
Well, your ones here, then it's in parentheses. Does that mean one you placed, one is charter school?
Mm-hmm.
So that's,
Yeah.
and if I'm
We have,
looking
we
down
have,
this column
we
and
have
adding-
we have 9 out-of-district students that we're paying tuition for.
So 9 we place, right, and then 7 that were alternative placements like charter schools.
There's 16 on that list?
Yeah.
What did I do wrong?
If you, I mean,
Oh, the 7, yeah, 7.
7 were out of your control. I mean, 7,
1, 2, 3, 4, and 7 is 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. You're right, there are 16.
so of the 9 that we place, which is a pretty astronomical number.
Yep. We have one of the autistic children is ours, is one that I placed.
So everything not in parentheses or brackets.
Yeah, the 7
All right.
and the 1 down at the bottom. So there's 1 and 1 is 2 and 7 is 9. Those are ours that we pay tuition for.
And I know placement costs range from wherever you place the
Up-
student, but what's an estimate of 9 students being out of district?
This year, the out-of-district tuition for us is over $400,000. It's about $434,000 predicted.
And is that including the transportation?
No,
Okay.
no, that is just including tuition.
So could be close to double that.
No, it's not double that, no. No, because we have one student placed residentially, so there's very little travel, if any, and a lot of our students are placed in day programs that are very close to here, so the transportation is not as much. The transportation, I have to look that up, but my transportation is under $200,000. It's not as bad,
So about 600,000,
yeah, between
not
6 and
including
7.
additional services that they.
Well, actually, The out-of-district tuition also includes some services that students are getting who are out-of-district. It's not just the tuition, it's also special services that they get while they're out there, because we get billed for the tuition and then for the
Right,
services,
I mean,
but it's all part of it.
Okay.
Yep.
And I know that this is probably connected to the request that we're going to be talking about in a couple minutes.
Yes,
But we-
that's not, the out-of-district is not connected to it, no.
Well,
It's
I've-
connected to some of our contracted services. We have contracted services that we pay a pretty penny for, to bring folks, to keep kids, be able to keep kids in the district.
Right.
And that sabbatical has to do with reducing our reliance on on contracted services and being able to provide more services in-house for no additional cost.
Right, no, and I understand that concept. I guess
Okay.
what my connection, my brain connection here was that the skills that this person will acquire are around behaviors. So if we have, not knowing any kids, we have half of our emotionally disabled population out and out of district placements, not knowing circumstances. So I'm hoping that with this new set of skills, if the board decides to approve this or not, that we'll really be targeting this population, because for 7 kids to be out, we could, I don't know, it's concerning. Can we be doing something different? And again, not knowing any sort of.
Well, there's at least 2 of them. One of them will be graduating in January, okay, and is gone. There are at least 2 of them that I'm hoping to be able to bring back next year.
Okay.
Already, with things as they are. The rest, I don't know if I'll be able to or
Yeah,
not,
and I
because
get
that. Yeah, I may not be able to.
And so at the end, and then I'm going to be quiet until the next
That's
section.
fine.
But fall 2011, we ended up out of district emotionally disabled 5, and now we're up to 7. So between August and October, we placed 2.
No. These 2 things are both fall. They're a year apart. One is fall 2010 and one is fall 2011.
Okay, sorry.
They're a year apart.
Okay, so since fall to fall, we've placed an additional 2 out. Okay.
Gene, this out-of-district column, is this all grades?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we have some preschoolers we have that were court placed, DCYF placed. We have some, let's see, we have middle and high school who are court placed. And then we have charter schools also that are parentally placed.
Do you have more?
Not right now.
Really? Anyone else?
Do we have any students going to the eBay Charter School in Exeter?
We have at least 1 student there now.
student.
Yep. Yeah, we had 2, but now we have 1. One of them came back to us. The next thing on the agenda is the camp conversation, and I'm not going to be doing that tonight because I don't want to do it. I want the speech pathologists who are running the program to do it, and neither one of them can do it. So we'll have to schedule that at another time, because I want to do that justice. Camp Conversation was something we started with grant funds this past summer. We're hoping to budget for it next summer. It meets the needs of the children on the autism spectrum and children with significant social skills deficits. It was a fantastic summer. We see so much carryover, including friendships made with the typical children who were included in the process that have carried on through the school year. It's been phenomenal.
Do you
I'll
allow
let them
other
talk about
districts
it.
to tuition into that summer program?
Pardon me?
Do you allow other districts to tuition into
We
that summer
haven't done
program?
that yet.
That's neat, I mean.
It's a big need, and don't think I'm not thinking about that. It's on but I wanted to get it started first.
Right.
Like this year, we did it for middle school kids. Next year, I want to, middle school, like the middle school, young high school we had. Next year, I'm hoping to expand it and dip down into the elementary and a little higher into the high school, and then maybe the next year, hopefully we can get it, we have to get program approval from the state to be able to offer it as a, but I had a lot of requests for it last year.
Okay.
So definitely something to do. Okay.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere.
Okay, then we have a request for sabbatical that we've already spoken a little bit about.
You sat down too soon.
You're the entire program
You're
section,
the program.
Gene.
Yeah, pretty bad. You're stuck with me. I'd be glad to give you a little more information about the sabbatical without naming particulars, but I can tell you that it involves one of our current staff members who is an extremely capable, talented, well-qualified, highly certified person. And we currently spend a lot of money each year on contracting out services from board-certified behavior analysts, known colloquially as BCBAs. And BCBAs are rather a new addition to special education services. They weren't always around, but they've been around more and more. I'm sure Meg sees them in her district too. These are folks who are very, no? Oh boy, we've got them here. These are services provided to students who have significant behavioral disorders connected with a disability, children who have a lot of trouble being able to handle all different aspects of a school day, aspects of interaction with other children, aspects of being asked to do something by an adult. It can be anything. And these children can be very disruptive in the classroom if they don't have particular behavior plans that are followed through. There's a lot of creative problem solving going on as children present more and more or varying needs in this area. And so part of the related services that some children receive is behavior support or behavior consultation or direct behavioral services with a contracted board-certified behavior analyst. And this person has presented a sabbatical request to be able to become a BCBA to gain that additional credential. Now, because of the nature of this particular individual's profession and the skills she offers to us already, I was asked, how could this happen? How could we take someone we already use a lot, add something to her plate, and still be able to meet the double duty? It's rather easy when you look at the what the skills are this person already has and the kinds of consultation. It's a school psychologist, so that you know the background. With a school psychology background, there's already a lot of behavior analysis skills. There's a lot of behavior knowledge. There's a lot of knowledge of child development. There's a tremendous wealth of information there. When you add a BCBA credential, now that person can look at a child to come into a situation where the child is experiencing problems, to observe that child and look at the child with both filters on at the same time. You know, if it's more of a behavioral kind of a thing as opposed to the need of counseling, this is someone who can look down there and say, well, you know, this is what it is, this is what we need to do, let's work on that and use the time that way. Instead of us doing double duty, bringing the psychological services in and the BCBA services in with two separate people, we have one person who can mesh the two, and they really are so related as to be really easily delivered by one person. It'll mean less time out of the classroom for the child. It'll be more comprehensive services for staff, because this is a person who has both pockets of knowledge to share with staff. I think it's a beautiful meshing, and it will save us, I figured, it will save us significant funds based on the use of our board-certified behaviorist. Currently, and for the last 2 years, I'm estimating that we would save about $32,000 every single year. It's a lot of money. And that's why I think that this is a very good idea. The person came to us with it. It was not something we asked to have done or even considered or even thought about, but when it was presented, it was like, whoa, well, this is great. This makes really good sense. So that was why, if it had been someone else with a different background coming with that same request, I wouldn't be as excited as I am, because this particular background and the BCBA really, they're really tongue and groove anyway. And this way she'll have both the credentials and allow us to provide both services really in one setting. So we're pretty excited about that, and we're hoping that the board will support it.
There's another piece that you didn't mention that as I recall I read, is that we don't have a BCBA in schools every day. So if there are certain issues that come up,
Good
they'll
point.
need to wait. And from my uneducated standpoint on the matter, it sounds to me anything behavioral should be addressed immediately. So it seems to be to make a huge amount of sense from a delivery of service time.
You're absolutely right, and thanks for bringing that up. That's an excellent point, and that is true. It's really hard to say to kids, okay, if you're going to misbehave this week, only Wednesdays and Fridays from 2 to 4. That's it, you know. And yes, you're absolutely right. That is an ideal portion of it, the fact
And
that we have
should
somebody on
reduce the amount
staff.
of time needed to
Exactly.
intervene, if you will.
Exactly. That's why I'm thinking the whole thing will be more comprehensive, and it will take less time away. We hopefully will be able to nip things in the bud rather than having to wait a day and have behaviors continue. If you can address behaviors quickly and be firm and follow through with a positive behavioral supports approach or whatever approach works for that child, you can extinguish behaviors you don't want to have much quicker than if they're allowed to wait till next Wednesday when the person next comes
And they've already
back.
forgotten about what they did to begin.
Right,
Yeah.
that too, right too. And our staff is very knowledgeable in this, but you still need that behavior analyst's eye to really know what you're looking at and to really understand the purpose of the behaviors in that setting. You really need someone who's got those skills.
Gene, what kind of a student are we talking about here? One with an IEP?
Oh,
Or
yes.
is it just have to have?
No, they don't have to have an IEP.
But a good
No, it could
percentage
be-
of them, let's
It could be
say?
any student, but most all of them are on IEPs, yeah. Most of the students that need the services of a BCBA are significantly enough impaired in behavior that they're on an ed plan. They're
So
usually identified.
give us
Although we could also use a board-certified person with someone who's misbehaving, period. We could be looking at a student who's, just really, taking advantage of a situation, or we might also be able to use the assistance in helping a teacher understand what the purpose of a student's behavior is in the room and how that teacher might be able to extinguish it. But predominantly, it will be for students with disabilities.
how many, about approximately 20, 25, 10?
At the elementary school, we have a lot. We have, we've had a lot of services in the 6th grade this year, too. I'd say 10 or 12.
10 or 12?
Yeah. But students who need that, it's usually pretty much ongoing. It's pretty consistent. We have some students, every time they reach something new, they have troubles. And we can do what we know to do, what we've learned to do, but sometimes it's not enough and we need more guidance. And this is now an expected related service that that's available and that we should be accessing for these students.
Is this something that's happening all over the state?
Oh, yeah.
Is it-
Yeah.
Except in Apparently.
Except in Greenland.
Here we go.
I'll lose my job.
Right. Now,
I just have a I have a couple questions, but when Dr. Hayes presented his superintendent's review and included the contract language around requests for leave. And so it said the candidate shall be required to come back for 2 years.
just a promise and sign, yep.
Right.
So if there was ever, no, this is worst case scenario, I don't know this person. If for some unexpected reason the person didn't return, could we recoup
Yes.
Yes.
the money that we invested in?
Yes.
Okay.
It's part of the signed, sealed,
Okay.
delivered package.
Okay.
Pat knows who it is, and I feel really secure in the fact that this person will stay. Don't you? I mean, I happen to know the person was offered a position in another district this year and chose to stay.
Pat, going through this list you gave us, the current contract with Constellations, Behavioral Health, and so forth, this person's going to take this sabbatical. Are we just going to give them half salary? Are we
That's
gonna-
what she's
We're
requesting.
not paying for any traveling or courses or anything like that, are we?
No.
Okay.
Well, she has some benefits, doesn't?
Health insurance and.
Yeah, I think we're
health
paying all of her benefits, yeah. And I think our benefits include 2 courses a year.
Yeah.
So we'd be paying for 2 of the courses.
Okay. We don't pay for travel.
No.
Okay.
No. No.
And so when you're envisioning this person coming back to the district after a year, and if we had this full-time person on staff, using your magic ball, could we have prevented some of these out-of-district placements with that level of expertise available? I'm just trying, yeah.
Maybe.
I'm just trying to gauge.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, some of those-
Again, it's a magic ball prediction, but
Right.
maybe. I certainly think it adds to our arsenal
Right,
of what we
absolutely,
can do
right.
to help keep
Sure.
children with challenging behaviors in district.
And so you really think that this person can do, I just think it's a lot for a school psychologist, and now you're layering this other with great skill.
But think about what a school psychologist does. Our school psychologists do not just test. Other school psychologists just test.
Right.
And in fact, we do more individual
Those are
work
safe
with
certified
kids.
people.
So, yeah, our school psychologists do more direct services with children than the average school psychologist. And part of,
You don't see this as a different skill set, just refining us.
I see it as expansion of one of the skill sets of a school psychologist, and giving a credential for the expansion of the services. But to me, they're hand in glove. Behavior is a large part of what school psychologists learn a lot about. They learn a lot about chaining behaviors and framing behaviors and the whole bit. That's very much a part of their training. And this really would mesh. It would also mesh, if I were still practicing as a therapist, an occupational therapist, it would very much mesh with my background too, very much.
And in thinking about, I'm sorry,
It's just enhancing their
right.
credentials.
It really is. I'm serious. I really think it will work well.
I think I've become very negative since I've been on the board because I'm so paranoid about the budget, but this was one of my thoughts was, so she comes back with this great, well, we've paid for half of her salary, her benefits. She comes back, has this great skill, now we find out, oh, you know what?
We have to pay her.
She can't do it. Now we need somebody else to pick up these other pieces, so then we're increasing, do you know what I mean? Like
I really don't think so. I really don't think so, because most of the behavior, what the behaviorist does is consult. Right now, we have a contract for X number of hours a week, and I have to look it up. I think it's like, I want to say it's 15 hours a week of service. I think that's about right. And that person comes in and does 15 hours, whether we need it or we don't. And some weeks we don't need it,
Right.
okay? But that's what the contract is. We had to put that down because that's what the IEPs call for. Well, if we have our own in-house person, we write the IEPs a little bit differently, and we use them when it's needed. We front-load at the beginning of the year with certain children who have more needs in the beginning of the year, and then we kind of drift off as their supports are in place and they don't need that expertise so much, and then we deal with the others as they come up. And,
There could be some days where she's just doing her regular job and not
oh, yeah.
really access,
Oh,
or
yeah.
days a week even.
Because right now, as Cliff said, we don't have somebody there every day. So who do you think gets called to do this right now on a day when the school?
Doing it anyway.
She's doing it anyway.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
She's
too,
doing
is
it
that
anyway.
She's,
Oh, I just need to ask the questions.
Yeah.
No, it's a good question. It's a really good question. It's a really good question.
She's doing it anyway, but this
Go ahead, Linda.
this
Say
will
it.
support what she's doing,
Yep.
more so,
And it'll
Better off for
it'll
the
enable
children.
us to offer
yes.
the quality of service that a BCBA provides, which is what parents look for now, and which is what we deserve. We need to be providing services by qualified, credentialed people in these areas, and now behavior is one of those areas that now has its own credential.
I
And
think
she
I
could,
cut you off, Linda, I'm
she
sorry.
could also,
no.
she could also work with the teachers and spread some of this stuff around.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, because that's the whole thing. The teacher needs to learn how to interact with the student to support their behavior.
You're right.
And to understand what their behavior is telling, what behavior is, all behavior is communication. And behavior is communicating something. And what the BCBA learns to do very clearly is to analyze what that situation is and how to change the behavior so that the child gets what he's trying to get accomplished in a more acceptable way.
Great.
And definitely, I mean, like I said, and Linda's right, it really is something that they're doing already anyway.
Go ahead, Linda.
Well, that's pretty much all I was going to say. That's okay. I'm not. What I was trying to say was, these students are the students that she's working with anyway, and now she's just going to have another skill set to apply when she's working with them, so.
And spread it to the other teachers,
Right.
spread that knowledge,
Exactly.
the ideas
Exactly.
and the processes.
Right. I'm real confident that's going to work well. And the psychologist herself has spent a lot of hours sitting down to see if this is realistic as well. And sat down with me, and we went all through it, and it just makes sense to me. It really does.
I mean, I imagine we'd have to hire someone to replace.
Yes, for
An
that year when
interim.
she's gone, it's an investment. We would have to hire someone to replace, definitely.
Does she gets back a report to us on her training at the end of it, or halfway, and then at the end? How?
We can
You can ask whenever.
We can ask whatever we want. when we have to hire someone to replace her, remember, we have half her salary in the budget
Already,
still.
yeah.
So that's there to put towards another person. So we would have to pay the other half of the salary and probably the benefits.
And in the budget session the other night, you kind of just, or the figures were in there based on just what a newbie person would be coming in.
We did an average.
Just averaged it, yeah.
Yeah, we picked a salary we thought was realistic,
Okay,
because we don't have anybody in mind. We're not at that point yet.
okay.
Is that I'm going to offer a motion now, Chuck?
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve. What's her name?
I don't know if we're supposed to say
No,
her name.
no,
Oh, okay.
that's that.
I'll make a motion to approve the sabbatical for a person to study the current cost analysis for BCBA, which really is a board-certified behavioral analyst for the year 2012, 2013.
Correct. I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Creative ways of solving problems. Okay, correspondence, we've got a NEASC schedule. There's a couple of events in particular that the board is encouraged. That's bold italic.
Yes, you've
sort
got
of
highlighted
encouraged.
portions of your schedule for the NEASC visit. Sunday, we would ask from 1 o'clock in the afternoon till about 3. That would include the welcoming reception that we're having with the visiting committee. And then we have a panel presentation where, starting at 3 o'clock, you would be interviewed by members of the visiting committee. They have certain questions. And I did ask if there was a list of questions that you needed to have beforehand, and I was told no. So they would like as many of you as possible. And then at the very end of the NEASC visit, the visiting committee will present a preliminary kind of report to the staff on the Wednesday, the 9th. And they've asked if any of you could possibly attend that. That's when the NEASC chair will certainly give his thoughts on how the visit has gone. But you do have the whole schedule for the whole school 3-day visit. Yeah, closing remarks at 2:45 on Wednesday, November 9th.
All right. Is there any other correspondence of note?
Just, no, none that I have other than.
Actually, maybe this is a good point to mention the letter that we received from our attorney's office regarding there's some outstanding questions with respect to changing the voting dates. Largely, the situation is that the town needs to act to move their deliberative session and second or a voting day meeting, whatever it's formally called, up to match our schedule. But the vote for school board members also occurs on the date of the town activities. So what we need to do is go through the legal steps to move the vote for school board reps to match everything else. And I haven't studied this letter nearly closely enough, but it appears to me that there is a time window that hasn't started yet, where we need to have a public hearing and then a deliberative session, and then a ballot vote to make that change formally. So more to come on that.
Now, the council had their public hearing last night on this.
Yes, I believe so. And I think there's some differences in, we need to follow, and I may have this a little bit wrong as I haven't studied the letter enough, but we are an SB2 school district, so we follow those rules directly. I think there's some differences with the town because there's a town charter and that layers and some changes. Don't hold me to that because that's my quick interpretation. So, anyone have any more to clear on that to add? I'd be happy to listen to
I
it.
think that's a really good summary of what we went through this afternoon on the
Yeah.
phone, so. The timeline is different because we're in SB2.
Right, and it's different from the town.
Right.
But the same sort of steps need to be taken.
You're just in a different timeline, yes.
So stay tuned for those, a deliberative session for the singular topic of moving the voting date for the election of school board officers, which I guess isn't going to be a huge draw, but we'll see.
Especially given the timeline.
The town is still, there was a question in that joint meeting of all the boards
Mhm.
about whether they were gonna do this year, or whether they were gonna wait and do it next. As far as you know, are they still, they're hurrying the
I
process?
believe they're on track.
To do it this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's going to be tricky, I think. It's going to be some heavy lifting for a lot of folks.
Mm.
Okay, Jonah's not here. We don't have a business department update, which brings us into policy.
Yes.
We don't talk about these.
Those are,
The invitations.
oh,
Was it part of correspondence? It wasn't listed.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the,
There's 3 of them?
there are,
There's 4 of them. I mean, I don't care if 2 or not.
well, everyone is also curious now.
Yes, now you're all got question marks over your heads.
And I'm not feeling particularly ready to speak to this. I haven't looked at this for a few days. Did you read it recently? Anyone wanna
As
just
far as I can
summarize it?
understand, it's an invitation from the superintendent of schools, SAU 16, for our House of Representatives and our senator to come to a meeting on Monday, October 31st at 7 p.m. at the Seco School of Technology. So I think it was just like an informational thing to let us know that they've been in. But is this something that is open to the public?
I can speak to it.
Oh, you can? Okay, good, great, check.
Because I was at the SST meeting.
Right, so this is largely involving SST support.
They want to cut $441,000 from the SST budget for the year 2012-2013.
They being the state?
And we're saying, holy,
Yeah.
we are break here. So the SAU, Mike Morgan's superintendent of Exeter, Mike Morgan, said, we got to find out what's going on here. So he wanted me to be there, but I have a class and I can't be there. I think one of you people should go with Dr. Hayes. It's Monday. And the idea is to get all the representatives and whoever they can get their hands on in the districts to get in there and start reading the riot act to them and say, look, we can't do this to these kids. We've already cut the programming, the programs, and we just can't, and they've done a number on the biotech. We just can't keep cutting programs at that level. That's where the jobs are. So that's what it's all about. It's the fact is that they want us to read the riot act to them and like start getting their act together. That's
So
the
it's
state
not a
level.
public meeting?
Yes, it is a public
Oh, it
meeting.
is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think the board, somebody in this board should go with Dr. Hayes and be very vocal with it. And, I'd like to go, but I got a class from 6:30 to 7:30, and then this is between 7 and 8, so I can't go.
Okay. Anyone available?
Check my schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, likewise.
Chet's gonna appoint someone.
But it would be great to
It
get
would
some
be,
direct
yeah.
answers from
Yes.
our
Yes. Yes.
those who represent us.
Because people are very, very upset. They're very upset over there. The other thing I'd like, can I bring in something else on this, Cliff? We talked about the oncoming budget, and this is premature, what I'm going to tell you, but for the year 2010, 2011, we actually had a decrease in our budget from, per student, $1,959 to $1,753, because we had this, we had actually laid off 6 teachers. So we were apt, we could take the programs and reduce the cost of the students who are going to go there.
You talk about the SST budget?
Yes, the SST budget. But now, we talked about the budget for the oncoming year, and we're going to have to probably increase it $320 a student. And people are very upset with that. So that can be also be talked about in that dialogue with the representatives or the senators or whoever's going to be there.
I find it
I
quite
think
interesting that there's
that's
only an hour, it's only an hour meeting, you're gonna get all those people in one
Yeah,
room.
that's, that,
Well,
I mean,
I thought
It
It
says
starts.
begin promptly and conclude approximately, so.
I think they just want to read the riot act,
Mhm.
and probably rightly so.
And I don't know that it's necessarily just about
SST.
SST fund or technical education
Yes.
funding. It's for cost shifts in the retirement system, catastrophic aid, building aid.
adequacy
So-
aid,
Yeah, yeah.
So it's an opportunity for school districts, the public, to have some representatives, an audience with them to kind of discuss concerns about state funding.
do we know if they're coming? This was an invitation, it doesn't necessarily mean that they,
Well, of course they'll come.
You'll have somebody there, but I don't know whether someone will leave town for a couple of days, but
That's a great idea.
okay.
It's actually gonna be in the papers tomorrow, so.
Okay, all right.
It's already done.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Kelly, for bringing that to light.
Sure.
Now the long-awaited
Policies.
policies.
You have 6 of them.
We have 6 of them, but all of them, but
Second reading.
for the first one are kind of affirmations of policies that have been standing. So, I think it really matters the order. We might as well go, I think, in the order that they're there. And
Yeah, the wellness.
Yeah,
The wellness people-
that's been since 2006, it's just been revised. That's revised.
right, but revised substantially.
Yeah.
Yes, the wellness policy represents a major revision of existing policy to comply with laws on the subject. You'll notice in bold that 2 aspects have been modified after the first reading to show some differences in treatment for the 2 schools.
And thank you for the, to Jim, Policy Committee, Wellness Committee for the flexibility with that. Is there, I guess, rather than jumping directly to a motion, are there other things that folks want to speak to regarding that policy, other revisions or thoughts? Kelly, I know you mentioned a couple things, and I had
Right.
a concern or two.
So we both have things. Do any of you? I mean, I think I would say, just right off the front, I don't think I'm ready to just move on this today. Like, I still want some more information about some of the things that I brought up.
Okay.
And I kind of would like Jim's input on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's possible that, I mean, I know the wellness people are here, and I'm sorry, but I don't know. I brought them up to you. I don't know where you want to start. If you want to go first, if I want to, it doesn't matter to me.
Well, of course, my notes were largely in that email that I sent you.
I printed.
Did you print? Oh, good.
I printed mine.
I guess a question that I had was, in the other section, so the beginning of, I guess, page 3 as presented.
Yeah.
There's bullet A, students will not be allowed to have soda or candy at school. B, no caffeinated beverages, sports drinks, and energy drinks. It doesn't say students, it doesn't, so does that mean students, or does that mean no
Everyone in the
coffee in the building?
It's directed towards students.
Okay, but it, you know, the first point says students, so, I think the way it's written, that ought to be clarified, because I'm sure more than one or two
Teachers would-
educators wouldn't appreciate that. And I had something else. Do you remember what my other thought was? Pathetic.
It was about, there was that area. Let me look in my notes. I don't remember right now. If we had our computers, we could bring it back up, but I'm sorry.
Um,
I'm trying to remember.
I don't, while Kelly's trying to remember, I just wanted to just thank the Wellness Committee. This is a huge rewrite, and you've been trying to see how it fit into the school setting, and I appreciate all of your work. I don't mean to be beating you guys up.
No.
The more discussion is
Gets it out there.
Well, it gets the word out.
I did find my note here.
Oh, good.
Regarding food and beverages, all food and beverages available during the school day will be meet or exceed state or federal guidelines. Action for Healthy Kids, New Hampshire Healthy Schools Coalition nutrition guidelines will apply to all food and beverages sold during the school day, including the school lunch and breakfast programs, and all food and beverages sold in vending machines in school stores. So is that's exclusive to only during the school day? Is that?
It is. The original part said that.
Mhm.
Still in.
As I read it again and see it says school day, so.
Yeah.
And I guess I still have an outstanding question in general, because I know that months back, we kind of had some unanswered questions on where the money goes from vending machines and how all that worked. But that's kind of separate from this, but somehow related.
Yeah.
So I guess those were my concerns. And the second one was just a non-thorough read.
I have several actually. On this second page, top of the second page, community involvement, I just found a typo. I think it's the third or fourth sentence. The committee should just be will consist, not will and consist. And then my next more larger point speaks to the food and beverages, bullet A, where it talks about nutritional information about school meals will be available for students and parents through menus, websites, and other appropriate school media. It kind of, my question goes to when we've been talking about this, as you know, for quite a few years, or maybe just a year, it seems like longer. Cliff, I think, we wanted to make sure that we were providing students with food information at the time that they're purchasing it. And that sentence doesn't necessarily encapsulate that. So I'm just curious, is there a provision that we're going to be showing kids, all right, you're buying this and this is what's in it, so they can make an educated guess about what they're eating? Or is that just like the school menu and the newspaper kind of thing?
You asking?
The
nutritional piece, I think, has to go through food service, and I know we discussed
If
this
you
in
could come up to the
past.
microphone so that, I'm sorry.
We
Lisa comes. I think the nutritional piece with the breakdown of food needs to come through food service
Okay.
because they're the ones that are providing the food. My understanding is that when we looked into this in the past, it is a whole software piece, and it's pretty big investment, and it's a lot of time and energy, probably another person's job. So it's a lot to get that information on. Right now, the nutritionals are offered through the webpage. So if you go on to school, the school menu site, I think you can click on school nutritionals, and I'm not sure when the last time that was updated, but you can read information about like what Bosco sticks have in them and what the chicken nuggets have in them. Those things are already on there and accessible to parents that want to look. It's just not right now on each menu, so it's not listed. And I'm not sure when that information was last updated. So, but that information is on there, and you can click on and you can go through a lot of different foods that have been purchased. I don't know if that helps.
So we don't have a way to distill down the, this many chicken nuggets and this much carrot sticks and
My understanding
whatever
of
to
that
call that a
is-
whole meal.
Yeah, my understanding that you'd have to ask Linda Hoopy about that. I do know when we talked about it last year that it was a whole different piece because you're talking about if you're serving a burger, you need to give the nutritional, the bun information plus the burger plus all the sides, and that was somebody inputting all that information, and as vendors change, that information changes. So each time your vendor changes or your product changes, each time that information would need to be input to be able to have that information, exact information available.
Well, it'd be nice to get to that point.
Yeah, maybe some other day.
I think if you checked with Linda Hopi, I think she's working at making some progress in that.
Mhm.
She's spent a lot of time learning about what changes she can make that are not hugely labor-intensive technology-wise right now, but I know she's been researching it.
Right. Well, the meal, to me, federal guidelines, the meal has to be only so many calories from fat and so many calories total and less than something sodium, and I don't know what all the other rules are. So there has to be some sort of gross calculation being done,
Yes.
right?
Right.
So we should be able to hang that on the wall. I would think. But it sounds like we need to.
Perhaps Mrs. Hopi needs to. You need to check with Linda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About it before you go forward. Understanding that.
There was, I did have something else too. I can't find it.
I have something else you want to keep.
Go for it.
All right, it's going to seem kind of radical what I'm going to say, and I'm probably not going to make a lot of teachers happy, but I've been thinking about this for a while now, and this just kind of seems like it comes up at the right time. Under recess, there's the loss of recess due to disciplinary issues is discouraged. And my background is in research, and there's a lot of research to suggest that that recess should not be used as a form of punishment anymore. I mean, I think Jean could probably speak to many cases of children with special needs that those are the kids specifically that need to get outside. So I don't like the use of that word. And I don't know if that's, if by changing that to like prohibited would be like a whole can of worms that I'd be opening up, but.
It's in our school policy, school handbook, that recess will be removed. So that's why the phrasing was written that will discourage it.
What do you, I'm sorry, can you come up, what, Joan?
Joanne Lazarus, yep. In our school handbook, it says that recess may be used as a deterrent for behaviors and should be utilized that way. And so that's why the phrasing was, will discourage that, because we do believe children need to move.
Right.
So,
So our own handbook flies in the face of that.
right.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, why wasn't I reading that when we went through the handbook? I don't know, maybe this just would launch us into more of a discussion. It might not be the time to talk about it now, but in my few hours that I did a little bit of research on it today, I mean, there's a lot of things out there. Speaking to the childhood obesity, all sorts of issues. And I just think there are other, what do I want to say, more creative ways that we can help children figure out what they're doing wrong rather than just remove their, and I think even I found that the statistics show that even when you remove the recess from the kids, those are the same kids that continue to get in trouble. It doesn't matter. It's not working, whatever it is we're doing. And I also think it's contradictory to our wellness policy, which says kids need to be moving, kids need to be doing everything, but wait, we're going to take this away from you. So I don't know. I found that word and it just kind of was a sticking point for me. So maybe this is not the place to air that issue, but
I can see that it might be inappropriate given whatever the activity was. Activity is not the right word. The behavior, it might not be the right idea to say if Sally just did something to someone else that they then go have recess with them and then they have their punishment later. That there may be things there that just don't make sense from a disciplinary standpoint. So I wouldn't want to say prohibited.
Yeah.
Being.
Well, maybe we need to take it up
word.
with the next time we talk about the handbook or something. I mean, I just think it's an issue that we need to address. And in the research that I've done, there's a lot of schools in the area that are moving towards that. Other states that are moving. I couldn't find, our own Department of Education there is so vague the way that they talk about it. It's like, okay, whatever, you're no help. So anyways, I just wanted to bring that up. It won't make or break my decision on the wellness policy, but I'll put it out there. I mean, I sent all my questions and everything to Dr. Hayes, and I hope I get his point of view too, just to see what he thinks.
I made a note of the wording concern.
Okay.
Because it says one thing in one way, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that.
But I agree with you completely, because this is getting off the wellness policy.
Yeah.
Sorry, we'll get back onto it. But I think recess is used for allowing kids to go to recess is used for different reasons. I know some kids are kept in to finish work.
Yeah.
So anyhow, definitely a conversation I think that we'd like to have.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get off my soapbox now.
Okay. Well, I did use my technology and found my other.
See, we worked well. We provided you time.
That same section on other, I just mentioned the caffeinated beverages, and I read it. Students will not be allowed to have soda or candy to school.
In school, probably in school.
Should that be at school, in school?
One of those.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if the verb would have been
Yeah.
bring rather than have, or so.
If you want to have soda or candy at school, yeah, that sounds good. Okay.
So, I guess I would be more comfortable if we made Jim listen to the last 20 minutes of discussion. And
Yeah.
layer in his 2 cents and answered any concerns that are still out there.
Yeah, before we
Talk to you guys more, and maybe not make you come back again. Absolutely.
Diane Beach. I agree. I would like to have a conversation, and actually, and this isn't appropriate, I don't think, to really discuss the issues. And I think you're right that we could discuss them more before we make these decisions, because I haven't seen what's happened to the policy since our 2 weeks ago, so I really don't know what the wording is that you're talking about and things. So it would be great to have more discussion about it.
Okay.
And Lisa and I would be more than willing to meet with Jim and go over some things.
But you've made the same points that we've always thought of too, so
Okay, great.
it's good just to talk about it, because there are things we can change.
Great.
But all that we read right now is that schools are much more strict than we are, which is why we started off choosing, not prohibiting things, but offering choices. So I think we do need to discuss it more.
Yeah,
Okay.
great.
Thank you.
When's your next policy committee? I kind of get it as we
Okay.
go, so I'll bring it up. When he gets back, I'm sure he'll see my email and, I'll have a discussion with him about it.
I know that Jim has had some discussion with Chris Andruski, for example, regarding what's practice in the junior, senior high school. So that's been layered in some, but I want to make sure that we end up with a policy that's not unenforceable. Because if we've got a policy that just doesn't, have any reason, if it's unenforceable, then it's not going to have any value. It's just going to be a policy that's not followed and underlines the credibility of policies in general. All right, so we'll act on that on another day.
We'll table that one.
So the next, several are for review, educational specifications, FEA, as a second reading. Does anyone care to offer a motion regarding this policy?
I make a motion to accept the policy educational specifications, FEA.
Second that.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll make a motion to approve the the enrollment projections, policy FBB.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'll make a motion to approve the selection of a design professional, policy FEB.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on this one? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'll make a motion to accept the site acquisition procedure policy, FEE.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll make a motion to approve the supervision of construction policy FEH.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That was all of them.
Whoa.
We made progress all of a sudden.
Moving right along.
Okay, we have a resignation.
Oh, retirement, actually, yeah, I guess.
Yes, resignation or other leave request, I guess is how I prefer to. Do you have that, Pat?
Did, once upon a time, oh, thank you. Yes. Do you want me to read it?
I just wondering if you had anything to add. She's
Contractually, she's within her timeline, had to be in before the end of October, she's there. She also mentions in the letter, the teacher mentions that she does have the right to change the mind and notify, however, she has to do it before April 1st, so we can make the correct changes. But this would be a retirement, not a resignation, so. Motion?
Yes, would you?
I would like to make a motion to accept the retirement request of Diane Evans.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have no nominations, is that right?
That is correct.
Nomination.
And we are ready to, I think, approve the manifest that we have, as it hasn't been thoroughly reviewed at this point.
I'm
So
sorry, can we just move back for a second?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to take a minute just to thank Diane Evans for her many years of service to the community and to our students. And she's, made quite a significant contribution to the lives of our students, and we really appreciate all that she's done. Sorry. Thank you.
No,
I should have said that.
My apologies for just kind of rolling along there. Thank you for highlighting that.
If I could add, Diane Evans' classroom is being used as our NEASC visitation site, so she's, for those 3 days, is making lots of changes in her daily schedule to make the visiting team from NEASC feel very comfortable. She's going to move in various places to do her instructional practices, so she's really putting forth a great effort to help us out here.
Wonderful.
That's great. And so the NEASC piece will have kind of a kitchen table sort of discussion.
Yeah,
feel.
homey.
Nice. All right. Calendar. We have a busy calendar. So first thing of note is that that meeting with our representatives to Concord on Monday, 7 p.m.
On the 31st, right?
On the 31st, yes. Oh, right, it's not
It's not
Next
next
week.
week.
not next week, it's the
It's a week
following
from.
week. So that isn't the next event. The next thing is Facilities Committee meeting.
Actually, on the 25th, we have the Efficiencies Committee meeting, right, that Tuesday?
Yes, I believe you're right.
What time is that?
We were at a loss.
In the-
It's, I don't know if it's 6:30 or 7. I don't have
Nor
that.
do I.
Well, that's close enough.
But,
Was that what you wanted?
on Tuesday, the 25th,
Yeah.
and I believe it's at 7, but I'll forward you guys the letter.
Okay.
There's an Efficiencies Committee meeting downstairs in the auditorium. The Efficiencies Committee meeting, Cliff and I sit on this committee with town council members, where the group talking about things like combining our
Oh,
things like that. So,
that's at 7 p.m.?
We think so.
I believe so, so I'm going to forward you guys the letter about that.
I think it's 6:30.
Yeah, I think so too.
My calendar
6:30 or
says
7, I just-
6:30.
Okay.
So that's an opportunity for feedback, right, from
Town
folks,
employees.
town and
School.
employees to help that process.
Yeah, the goal is to hopefully, some of the town employees will have ideas to share as well. Town, and that includes school.
By town, you mean
Town as in.
people whose
Hired.
paycheck says
Yes.
Newmarket.
Exactly.
Town of.
Exactly.
Thank you. And then a Facilities Committee meeting on Wednesday, our budget work session on Thursday. We get to separate for a couple hours over the weekend. Hopefully, at least one or two of us will join Jim on the 31st.
If I could interrupt, we have something on the 25th at the elementary school, and you can take one and send one. Mahesh Sharma will be here to present to parents. Usually he comes on a Thursday and it's a school board night, so I worked for Tuesday night. He will be here next Tuesday night, and of course, anyone from the board is more than welcome, as well as parents, community members are more than welcome to come to the elementary school. He'll speak for an hour from 6:30 to 7:30, and explain what we're doing in the school district. He'll explain his thoughts on children learning numeracy.
Wondering if we should videotape that.
I don't know if he'll let us. but I can
Oh.
ask.
Because he gets the fee. We do have his DVDs.
Yes. Ask.
So that might be a good thing
He's a
to,
pretty popular math person.
if not shown on channel 13, other opportunities for, parents that couldn't make it that evening.
We do have videos of him and DVDs that some people already have borrowed. within the district. We have a whole set on place value, numeracy, learning fractions, understanding math facts, and commonly asked questions by teachers of Mahesh Sharma. So if you would like to view those, please stop by the SAU office and we'll fix you up with one.
All right.
But how can we go to that if we're supposed to go to the...
Yeah.
I know. We're busy, you're busy people.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah.
All right.
So our next meeting as a school board in this venue is opposite the Spaghetti Supper on November the 3rd. The two dates of most importance from the board perspective for the NEASC visit are Sunday the 6th from 1 to 4 p.m.
4 o'clock.
approximately. And then the closing visit discussion is at 2:45 on Wednesday?
On Wednesday, yes.
The 9th. Anything else of note that we need to layer in?
We have no budget meetings in there, which seems really odd, doesn't it? Or is it just me?
We don't?
A work session.
Do you have the copy that was handed out this evening? I thought I gave you one.
You gave me in October. Wait a second, wait a
It's
second.
on the other side.
It's not,
It's on the other side. It's late, it's 9
It's a
o'clock,
budget
okay?
committee meeting on the 27th.
Yeah, next.
Yeah, every Thursday
Yeah, we're
till
booked every
Thanksgiving.
Thursday.
That's what I thought. I mean, I was like,
And on
hey.
Thanksgiving, we're not
We're
coming.
thankful.
yes, we're being thankful.
So I'm getting rid of this old one too. Sorry, my bad.
Okay. So unless there's anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you very much.